live on a few different platforms here. If you're seeing me on IG or YouTube, what's up? If you're on Twitch, I don't ever really stream anymore, but hey, what's up?
Hey, you're overwhelmed. That's weak.
Sorry about that. I accidentally clicked on a tab in my browser. Using the Riverside app, it's pretty easy to stream here to multiple places. So if you have a place you'd like to stream, I recommend using Riverside, but it is pricey if you have a paid plan. Anyways, a couple of things I wanted to talk about here on the live stream. First one is hello, my name is Chris, Daygo Chris, and yeah, I don't have much to say other than that about myself. Let's get into it. I wanted to say that the most expensive thing that you should buy is anything you can afford right now, and that's everything is expensive. So it doesn't matter what it is. If you can't afford it, just go for what you need, the necessities, like But and I'm kind of not explaining myself, but let me go back. Starting off with technology and tech, because that's mostly what I love and what I post about. If you haven't noticed, I try to talk about it, and I noticed something the other day about new things coming out. Everything's freaking expensive, and I'm like, what do I recommend anyone buy, or how do I recommend to people buying stuff? And I think about it, and I'm like, you know what? There's no real recommendation. You can't tell anyone they should buy something over another thing. It's whatever you can afford at this point, because things are gonna just keep going up and up. And it's not just in tech; it's in all everything we have here. And this is mostly pertaining to America, but pretty sure it's like this everywhere else in the world. Um, but yeah, don't worry about what you are missing out on. Just worry about what you need. Don't focus on the things you don't have. Focus on the things you have and what you are able to work towards. I just wanted to be putting that out there because I know there's a lot of discourse outline online about the prices of everything, especially when you see computer parts and technology, just everything, video gaming, movies, you name it, everything's gone up exponentially, and it feels like we're not really making more, but we're paying more. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Um, but in that same idea of like what you can afford, I've seen this new technology coming out from LG with the inkjet printed OLED panels that they're coming out with. So, and I'm saying this because I see this new technology. I'm not going to get into it. There's a lot of things online you could find about the new technology, but basically, from my understanding of what it's going to do, it's going to make things less expensive for the TVs, for their OLED TVs. So I think more people are going to be able to afford OLED, which is nice because OLED is, I think, the best TV technology right now. I didn't even mean to do this, but I had bought a TV for my parents' house, and I bought them an OLED, and they can tell the difference between that and they have in their their bedroom TV that's not a non OLED. And it's not that they care because it's really up to your eyeballs what you like. And for most stuff, it's probably fine to use a non OLED TV, but if you particularly like really clear looking visuals, like when it comes to movies or video games, for me especially, it actually looks extra nice. Those deep blacks make those scenes in like those dark movies look really nice. When there's a little bit of light, you can really see it doesn't get muddled, like grayed out because of the LCD panels. Um, and so I just thought it was fascinating that they're coming out with this new technology, and it's actually something that was like a little bit of a bright spot in tech, to be honest with you, because when they have new technologies like this, it makes the older tech a little bit more affordable because they're trying to get rid of it. So it's actually you're going to start seeing regular LCD panels that are like insanely cheap now because they're going to be pushing more OLED. But then even the OLED tech, now that they're able to produce it at a more efficient rate, they're going to be able to come out with TVs that are one, different sizes. I think that maybe even giant bigger sizes, but then two, they're going to just be cheaper because they can make it manufacture it more affordably. But that's only because they need you to have a TV to even access all the other stuff that costs money. But that's neither here nor there. I'm mostly focusing on just this new tech, and it was just something I wanted to bring up. Oh, that was loud. You heard the car. By the and then so on that same note of like technology and things, I also was like seeing this report that AirPods, the next ones, are gonna have cameras in them, like the things that go in your ears, and I'm like, why would you need a camera in that? I didn't do any real investigation into it. I just had like a real quick thought on it because I was like, if you're buying earphones with cameras on them, I don't understand the point. Maybe you know, let me know in the comments. Maybe something I'm missing on this, but I don't think I would ever buy cameras on anything other than what I'm expecting a camera to be on. Hold on a second. But yeah, the cameras situation is getting crazy. We're all in a surveillance state. That's why I'm posting now because it doesn't matter if you're, in your home. I guess you don't have as much surveillance. You can control that, but once you step outside, there's satellites and everything, and all the conspiracy theorists will tell you whatever. But I'm not thinking that everyone's necessarily watching every move you make, but it's possible that you're getting a lot more video footage of you than before because there's just so much cameras out there now. You know, there's drones and stuff where, I mean, you would hear a drone close by, but if there was maybe one with a really great zoom, you wouldn't even know. But yeah, anyways, the whole AirPods camera thing, I was like, that's weird. And in fact, it's actually caused me to kind of go, not downgrade, but just reevaluate like my tech habits. And um, I have wireless AirPods, but I've actually noticed because I went on Amazon and I saw that they had the wired AirPod or EarPods, the old ones. Well, I don't know if they're old, but they're seemingly older because they have the wired connection, and those ones actually work pretty good, and they're way cheaper than any other headphones. So I would recommend those, even if you're not an iPhone user. Just in general, they're pretty good headphones, and then they're really affordable. I think the USB C version, so you can connect it directly into your phone, costs $20, and then they have a little bit cheaper version, the auxiliary port version. So if you don't need the USB C, like you actually have like the headphone jack, then you can get that version. Save yourself another $5. If you really want to take it down, you can probably get these Sony ones that I saw around the same price, the $15 mark. That was USB C, but I don't recommend those ones. The Sony ones, they work all right, but they don't sound as good and they don't feel as comfortable personally. But maybe that you might like them because they have like those little ear tips, and that might be something for you. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say really on this AirPods stuff. Um, and in general, just streaming here just to kind of make content because it's kind of hard for me to just sit there and edit and stuff. I'm trying to review a game right now that I'm playing, and this game is hard to play through because it's a simulator. And simulator games, I don't know if you know this, take a lot of time because they're just like repetitive tasks. It's it's irritating and it's fun at the same time because some parts of it I enjoy on this game. They're like not the super repetitive, or like they're more like gameplay um, things you can do. Like for instance, there's shooting and there's hunting. That part's all right, but then there's like store management, which that can be all right, but it seems like it's difficult for me to sometimes get myself in gear to do the thing. So then I'll be behind because there's like a timer because it gives you like a day and night cycle in the gameplay. It's got a lot of like different mechanics to it. I'm not trying to say too much because I want to save everything for the review, but it's one of those games that I was thinking I wouldn't like it, but it's pretty fun for the most part. And then some parts, like I said, I'm not enjoying, but I think once I get deep enough into the game, you can kind of make that part go a little bit more smoothly and quickly, and so you're not really focusing on it. You're focusing on the things you do like. But then there's some stuff that's on there that I'm like not a really huge fan of, but it's all right. Anyways, yeah, this has just been like my idea to stream. I was gonna stream yesterday, but I had some really terrible news on the family front, and then there was just no way I was gonna do it. I wasn't in the headspace, and I'm not gonna stream just to stream. It would have been nice to, but it's not worth it. Unless if you know that you're mentally there. Hey mate, what's up? How's it going? Oh yeah, he's the guy on Twitch who's probably a bot. Maybe not. We'll have to check him out. The general. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate the support. Anyone who does support me, I always give my thanks and appreciation because that's just who I am. do that on the daily, my daily job. But we could talk about that another day. Mostly like talking about technology. That I could talk about different things on between movies, video gaming. I'll sit here for hours and just make things up to talk about, even if it's not coherent to most of you. But to me, it sounds coherent enough. I'm not an expert by any means into any of this stuff. I just been doing it for my whole life, so I consider that my expertise, my natural um, life ability, because I've been playing since the early '90s, and off and on. There's been no one, unless if you grew up in a household where your family and your parents were like deep into, I guess nerd culture or video gaming. Nerd culture is weird because some people are into nerd culture, but they're not like deep into every aspect of it. And by that I mean like I have friends and family who are really like heavy into movies and shows, and they can quote and say stuff a lot. And I would consider that nerd culture, but some people might not. They might consider it just like passive, like what is it, media culture? I don't know. It's all relative, right? So for me, I've always been into like video gaming and movies and stuff and such, and then video gaming really got more into it, more intense, I would say, in the PS2 era because of SOCOM Navy SEALs and SOCOM 2 Navy SEALs. The online aspect of that, because that was like the first online shooter I played on a console. And let me say that was the one that I like was heavy into, especially during my high school years. I played like all throughout high school, like not offline at all. Like I would get off of school and just go straight to playing it, and that was pretty fun. I remember doing that and not like really thinking much about it. Now thinking back, I'm like I probably should have taken a couple times like days off and did other things other than just working and gaming, because that's pretty much what I've been doing this whole time, and it's got me through it. I'm an adult, got my own place, family, good job, career. So I'm here to tell you that video gaming is actually something that's been consistent in my life that I've actually always enjoyed. It's one of those um, fun pastimes that I don't see that anyone should stop. I see some people say that, well, you're a kid because you're playing video games or you're childish. Well, what's childish is getting upset at someone for having a hobby that they enjoy that doesn't hurt nobody. Unless if you're taking it to that level and you're outspending, your household and you're not feeding your family, then yeah, stop it. But if it's just something that's fun to do and you enjoy it, why not? There's people who do lots of bad stuff out there, and people don't give them a hard time. And I also do some of that stuff too. Like I like to go out and have a good time, drinking and stuff, and partaking a little of the herbals. We'll say, but I don't have to make that my whole life. I can do that on the side, like I can do this. That you can do a little bit of everything as long as you do it in moderation, and that's key to life: moderation. For a long time with my eating, I'll be upfront about it. I used to be a really big eater. I still am, but even more so. I was really, really overweight. The last few years, I've just been going through a lot with that, and just one of those things that you get into like a habit of not paying attention to until you start feeling it, and then your body lets you know, hey, something's wrong. Either you make changes or we're gonna go downhill real fast. And I was at that point in my life where I had to make some changes, so I did for the most part, and it's still a struggle. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's perfect and every day is a beautiful 100%. I'm doing the right thing because God knows that no one can. Even the most perfect people have off days. There's no such thing as 100% because we're all imperfect. We're all human, and that's number one thing I want to make sure that everyone knows about me is I believe that all humans have a chance. We all deserve second chances. We all deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. And the people who don't feel that way or who just want to hate on people because they don't care, like they just have no feelings, or maybe they got brought up in a really bad environment and they don't have an emotional support that actually shared, how to be a decent person to another person. I'm here to tell you, you can change that shit. You don't have to be a piece of shit just because you grew up with pieces of shit. Trust me, I know I grew up with some really bad people, and I feel like I'm not them. I've been able to become a little bit better than the average. And as far as like going in the cycle of that negative headspace and just, hurting people. If you're one of those people, you've been able to come through and just like kind of break the mold from what you're expected, then you should give yourself a pat on the back to let yourself know that you did something worth doing. You might not even have noticed it or recognized it because you're not even paying attention. You're just doing your everyday life. But then, like, if you look back on some of the things you've been doing, you're like, wow, I actually did that. And I had to do that a couple times recently because I always give myself negative thoughts. I'm really like giving myself self doubt. I don't think I talk really like professional in any setting I'm in. So I always think like I'm the worst person to speak at a room, knowing that I know a lot of things, but it's just how do I share these things that is, coherent and makes sense to people that they hear it and they're like, oh, you know what? I can actually hear understand this guy. Um, but it's just all these things are just coming into my mind as I'm speaking to you guys. I had no like super set goal for this. Again, I wanted to just post something on here to make sure that I'm actually getting out there because my goals aren't monetary. I'm just trying to become a better public speaker and being more out here and upfront about the person I am. Because for me, I'm trying to get through this journey of life where at the end of the day, I can look at myself in a mirror. And when I reach the pearly gates, I know between me and the higher ups that I did the better part of what I could with my choices and actions because that's the free will that I carry. Yeah, I have to do all these other things, but I also get to choose those things that I do. And as I've grown and as I've learned and gone through different discussions and had different therapy sessions, I've learned that the best way to help others is just to reflect on your own life and your own self and just express it in that way and others will kind of just see that light. And for those of you who don't, you can't help. It's like the old saying, you can't lead a horse to water. So I always feel like that. If you're just one of those people, you're like, man, fuck this guy. That's on you. Maybe you should say that to me and skip me. That's cool because that's how it is in that right now. There's so much people on here talking. There's a lot of noise, a lot of content, a lot of video games, a lot of movies, a lot of everything. And sometimes I just want to slow it down. I don't even believe that you need to always be posting. Like, I probably should be posting way more often to get, this social media thing going on. I know that a lot. That's why everyone's like, oh, you got to post every second of your life. But, you also got to live life. So that's what I prefer to do first. And then after life that I'm living, then if I have some moments in between that make sense for me to post, then here I am. Unless the opportunities change, then, my posting schedule may change with the opportunities that arrive. That's just how life is. That's how I've always been. um, Kind of like right now with the way the economy is and the way the world is, like it's just like crazy, and it kind of reminds me of like the late 2000s. Like, I remember working at a job, working, working with cars, doing auto body and stuff, and just that when that hit, like that financial crisis, which I had no understanding of. I was like a young kid, not super young, but I mean like a young adult, and the the it was like one weird like week. Like, I'll give you like my memory of it. So I remember, like, I was working one week and remind you, kind of put context out there. We had this big parking lot on the outside because it was like a big building, I guess. They did most of the work inside this building. It was like multiple body men and like a couple mechanics. It was a big shop, and they had this pretty big sized parking lot on the outside that was always full, and it was always like constantly we're getting new cars, new customers. It was just like, constant work. Like, it was a good shop to work at because it was like steady. You didn't have to worry about waiting for people to come in. It was a good kind of setup there. So, I had gotten the job there and it was cool and everything. It was working and whatnot. And then, like, I want to say, I don't even remember what week it was. Like, I don't have like the dates because I wasn't thinking back then, let me document my life at this point. But I just remember from one week to the next, it was like a ghost lot. It was like maybe a few cars, not nearly even. It was like 80%, 90% of the cars were gone, and it was kind of eerie. But like, I didn't know like that was not the normal because I hadn't been there like for years and years. I think at this point I would only been there like a year or 6 months, something like that. It was like fairly new, and one of the guys goes, "Man, this is weird. This is kind of tripping me out right now because normally we have at least half a lot. Like, this ain't good. Like, to not have no like not enough work right now." And then, that was the first week it started, and then it just kept snowballing week after week, and it got to the point where the main boss was like, basically, he had no, we didn't have enough work, so he had to start like letting go of people. So it was like, and his name was Phil. We're like, Don't look, don't go near Phil. If you look at him, he might just give you the wink and the smile, the gun, and that was it. You're gone." And he started just eliminating all, people as he, I guess, saw fit, or I don't know if he had like a plan. I didn't really, wasn't involved in that part, but yeah, it got to that point where it was my turn, and I avoided him for a good week or two, and then eventually he caught up with me. Of course, I was like the lowest man on the totem pole. I was an easy target to get rid of because, the new person still not, quite invested in the place you're working at, and they tend to, unless if you're making the lowest amount of money and doing the most amount of work, which tends to not be the case, you're probably going to be let go. And all that to say is that this economy that we're in right now kind of reminds me of that. I'm seeing a lot of negative like stories about, like for instance, there's a brewery in San Diego where I'm at. It's called Stone Brewery. And for a long time it was an independent brewer. And they have pretty good, well, they had pretty good beer. Um, but they got sold, I guess, to the company who owns Sapporo. And recently, I just saw today that there was a posting that the Stone Brewery in Escondido, San Diego, which is like another like city in San Diego, one of the county cities. Anyways, that brewery that had like over 200 jobs is closing down. And it's like, why are they closing down? It doesn't make sense. Like, beer doesn't just, no one not buys beer, right? Or maybe they don't anymore. But even then, it's like there's something wrong with the economy that you're closing, making a lot of closures, or there's a lot of like acquisitions and like mergers. Like, I heard I have Cox Cable, and they're my cable provider, and they're merging with Spectrum. I heard Spectrum's really huge, and Cox is decently huge. Why are they merging? Like, this is just going to be terrible. Like, it's already bad enough right now in my area. We don't have a lot of options for broadband internet, for cable internet. But then you're also going to make it so that way we don't. Not only do we have no less options still, but then you're going to give these companies even more power to say, you know what, we can charge double because who else are you going to go to? Like, that's the thing about these capitalists in this country, that they're like, well, let it happen. Yeah, it's only fine until it happens to you, and then you're like, wait, why did we let this happen? If you have a ton of money, you're not caring about any of this stuff. You're just going to keep living your life. Everything's fine and dandy, and until it's not. And I don't think that we should be celebrating that, because unless if you, like I said, unless if you have like fuck you money, which those people, I mean, I don't even consider them real people. I think they're just weirdos. Those people think that, you know, they deserve everything and then everyone else doesn't deserve anything. I think we all deserve a little bit of, compassion and care, and that's what I'm trying to put out here. Sorry, I actually need to put my focus on here. I think I'm getting these notifications. Not even sure if they're coming through if you're hearing them on your end, because this is my first time really streaming on here like this. I don't really do streams often, but I figure why not? my it'll only help towards my goal of just being more open and honest, not just with you guys out here, but with myself. It'll keep me honest with what I'm saying now. That way, when I look back at it, I'll be able to like reflect and then take it, move forward, and actually build on it. Because when you just think about stuff, when you do documenting in your own mind and your own personal like time and set, you're only holding yourself accountable. And right now I'm trying to give myself more of a open accountability to others, even though you're not even here, there's no one watching the stream right now, but that's fine, because right, with every time you post something, every time you do anything, you're building, you're progressing. You might not see any of it because it just like looks like nothing, but then you look back and then you're like, wait, there was actually something there. I did something there that changed my mind or changed my trajectory. you know I had recently saw a note that I had written a year ago in October. And I was in a really negative headspace at that time. I mean, it comes and goes, and I just like had a lot of self-doubt and negative thoughts, and I didn't even know where to begin. And I just kind of just gave them all out. I let them all out on that day. Just, left a note. I think I typed it in OneNote or something, and then I was just going in my OneNote right now to review what I wanted to speak here, and or this was like maybe last night, and beforehand I was like, this is crazy. I didn't even realize that I wrote this note. But then I was like, wait a second, what was I saying? So I kind of reread the whole note, and I was like, wow, my mind has really shifted since then. My thought process, how I carry myself, I really think I built from that year, and you know it's weird because each year you go into it thinking you're gonna have a better year than the last, but you don't realize some years they kind of are just like transition years to the next one. Like there's no like change much. You're just going through the motions to get through it, and then the year happens. You're like, you didn't even pay attention that it even happened. It's only until something like coming across an old photo, or like I did the old note, or just something from previous year, or time before, and you're just like, wow, this thing has made me change, and you like realize that change. It's actually kind of a surreal feeling, because you don't believe that change can happen. Sometimes you think everything's just going to continually be the same, especially if you're in like a really bad situation, and you can't imagine it getting any better. And I think that's one thing that I really want people to focus on, is things can get better. Like right now I'm talking about the economy and like the way things are, and I think that, yeah, it's not really great right now. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it, because I don't believe it is. I've seen a lot of things happening. I work in healthcare, and when you see stuff in healthcare, especially because the economy is driven by healthcare, because everyone needs it, and without that, well, there's no point. Uh, you can see like really where the world's at, and I see right now we're just in a weird space. But I feel like in the 2028 election, once we get through this regime, we'll finally see some differences in the economy. I think some transitions to something different, something better, hopefully. I'm hopeful for something different and better, because the status quo is not working. I know it's not working for me, and I'm not doing the worst as some people I know. And I know for you, if you're listening or if you're watching out there, you can rest assured that we will get to a better place, but it'll take a little bit of work and effort. One, don't give in to just the idea that, oh well, it sucks. Billionaires own everything. We can't do anything about it. We can do stuff about it. We just have to come together and be of one mind that this thing has to be for all of us. And I'm not saying take any money from billionaires. Let them make all their money. All I'm saying is enact. We need to enact policies that work for everyone, not just for the few of us. Um, with, like I said, the merging of Cox Cable, that shouldn't have been a thing. I actually believe that internet should be a utility. There should be a limit on the amount of money that they can make on it, because internet, everyone needs it. At this point, it runs it, if you see AI, it runs the economy. If there was no internet, what would they do? They would How would they be able to give us access to these AI chatbots? I'm guaranteeing most people don't have a dedicated PC to download an offline AI chatbot. Those are only the enthusiasts. The people who are actually adopting AI are going on a web browser like me. Maybe you download the app, which is on the internet. You need the internet, and they need you to need the internet. So why not either give us free internet, which they probably should. They should just make it free, and we should have the AI companies. We should be charging them for it. Honestly, trillions of dollars. Get out of here. Give one of those trillions back to us. It makes no sense. The money that they speak of online on these with these AI companies is it's astronomical. You actually can imagine. I couldn't even imagine $1 billion. Now throw on a trillion. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. The amount of money, and then people are like, "Well, how are we going to afford it, bro? How much is in your bank account? You got $1 billion? And if you got $1 billion and you can talk about $1 billion, please do. But if you don't, shut the fuck up. Out of here. I can't stand it when people talk about others and they're like, well, how are we going to take from the billionaires? They worked so hard for it. Yes, they did, but also so did other people in their company. Everyone in their company who is, working their ass off even more, because they're actually getting up every day. They don't have the luxuries. And I'm not saying that the person who built the company should necessarily fall or anything, but there should be some equity in, the company with the workers. You know, we forget times have gone so crazy, because we forget 100 years ago that we were saying these same things, but it was just in a smaller scale, because one, there was less people. but two, the information wasn't spread as fast as it is now. You know, you're literally watching me on a live stream just talk about whatever I want. And before, the only way you would hear that is if you went to like a town hall or something, or like a public space and someone actually got up and spoke in front of a big group or audience, which, you know, you could still do that, but it's not as likely. Where more people are likely to meet you at is here on the internet. So, but I don't know. I'm not trying to be all like into politics or anything like that. I just recognize what I do. And when it comes to what I like to talk about, it's kind of a mixed bag. Sometimes my video game stuff intertwines with it, but it's just because I'm in a weird position where I'm an adult father figure that has to be mindful of his children, and maybe you don't have children, and that's why your mindset won't ever think like that, and that's fine. But you can't be mad at us who have that parental mindset, that figure of wanting to help others. And if you feel like, oh, why are we helping so and so? And I don't care what their background is, because it shouldn't matter, especially in this place. If you're in this country in America, America is based off of taking from the natives. If you're not native, you really don't have nothing to speak on. And I'm talking about Native American, not Native European. Because Native Europeans think that they settled here because their ancestors came and raped and pillaged this land. You know, that was a long time ago, one. And two, we need to assimilate. We all need to be in this together. And if you don't want people to come to this country because you don't believe that, you know, we should be sharing resources with others, like immigrants from any other country, and you might be hearing immigrant. I don't know what country you think of from that is an immigrant, but basically everyone that's not born here is an immigrant, right? But not everyone is treated equally as an immigrant. And even that in itself is already a problem. We need to start treating people equally and fairly. You know, I'm sure you have a friend or a neighbor who has a friend or family member who is not born here. We are only a degree separated from someone who's not natively American. Shit, I'm from a city that there's not even many people are natively San Diegan because most people move. That's the world we live in. Everyone's moving. You can only, you know, live in a place for so long before you realize, you know what, maybe there's a different opportunity for me, a better opportunity. And so, should we start calling people in our own state immigrants if you're immigrating out of state or out of city? No, stupid. It makes no sense. People are only coming to a place because they see an opportunity that makes sense for them. So why are we giving them a hard time? Don't create that opportunity then. Well, I mean, I guess we're doing that right now by, you know, making it harder for people, and it's also in turn making it harder for us because, you know, it was actually working out having it kind of equaled out, but people don't want to see that because their time in this in their place in this day and age, they like to point blame at something that they have no real knowledge of. They just think, oh well, this has to be the answer. I see the numbers, and the numbers make sense. And sometimes the numbers can lead you to a skew because you don't really see the people behind a number. You see the stats. Stats are one thing, but when it comes to people and lives, it's a whole different ballgame. You know, you see those commercials with, like, say for instance, drug commercials, and those at the end have like may cause blah 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 blah, diarrhea, etc. etc. Any kind of like, you know, symptom from the medication. Realizing that's a percentage point of the actual population. It's only like one. Say it's 1%, and usually they do it off of a trial. They'll do a clinical trial, and it'll be like, say 100 people they'll test it on. They'll do 50 of them with the actual drug, and 50 of them will be like a placebo. Like, here's a drug that makes you think it's a drug, but it's not, to see if it's just in their mind, kind of like thing. It's also psychological. And then from those trials, they gain percentages based off of the numbers. And I could, you know, the numbers are always varied. It's not always as clean as 100, but we'll just say 100 for easy math. So say you got 50 people, one person out of that 50 people that actually took the medication you know, had diarrhea. Well, that's where your percentage comes from. But how do you know that that's going to hit that exact amount of people once it's actually with, you know, hundreds of thousands of people or millions of people, depending on how many people have this disease that need the medication or whatever, or illness, we'll say, because it's not always a disease. Some people hear disease and they think, oh, it's bad. But some people, you know, you can have eczema. That's technically kind of like a disease. But anyways, neither here nor there. I'm just pointing this out because we like to point at the numbers and blame those from with the numbers, not realizing that those numbers are people. And I'm bringing the whole clinical trial thing out. The trial situation I'm bringing up because if you think about 1 out of 50 people, that's actually quite low. And if you think about the person who actually got that illness, they got felt sick, you know, did they? We don't really look at like what the later symptoms were like, because then we hear, well, you caused diarrhea. Well, one, we don't even know. Maybe they had that day, like you didn't follow that person. You're just going off the numbers, right? Maybe they had a burrito that messed them up, and it wasn't even the medication. Maybe it was, they went to they went to Taco Bell, and they had that lettuce, and they didn't even realize it was part, some other external factor that caused it. So maybe there's 100% rate here, you know, and it's it's easy to get caught with the numbers, especially when you're a numbers person and you're not like into the psychology or into like the soft sciences. But when you're kind of into both, like where I'm at, like in my career, you got to be into both. You try to make sense of the numbers with the human aspect, because you got to care about people. There's no other way about it. If you don't care about other people, then you're not a good human. Because and it makes me kind of weird. It makes me feel weird because I see people who treat dogs really well, and then you see how someone can treat their animal, their pet, like God's gift, and then go outside and yell at Juanita because she's not, doing her job on your lawn the way you want to, and you're mad at her because she's an immigrant. She's taking your whatever you say, like, or it's funny to me because it's like a double standard that people don't ever see or recognize unless if you actually like get some sort of example shown in front of you that you're like, you know what, I actually see what's going on here, and I don't subscribe to all this nonsense that's been thrown out. But other people I know, you guys are on here just like tripping out, getting really upset at others, and this whole social media thing makes it easy because you don't really get any repercussions. I watch this one guy, shout out to him, I watch you game. I've been seeing a lot of his clips recently. He's a guy who yells. He used to yell on video games about playing a game for an hour. Now he's just doing a lot of like talking head videos, like how I'm doing right now with this live, and it's just like he kind of bring up a good point where like trolls and stuff and people who just want to go on there and start a bunch of chatter, like talking all sorts of mess on you. It's just like, bro, like what, you wouldn't do that in real life. Like if we were here and you were up to me man to man or woman to woman or person to person, whatever you want to call it, and you wouldn't be saying none of that because you'd be afraid of your repercussions. It's kind of like recently on our freeways, the mindset of people driving over 100 is just been going crazy. The everyone does it, like everyone's trying to speed to get to where they got to go. I get it, but it's funny because you see now that we have like these posted billboards that have like those messages on them. They're like on along the freeways, and recently they said drive over 100 and lose your license. Like point blank, they're just like, we're not even playing around. The cops are like, no, we're CHP is just gonna. If you don't know, CHP is California Highway Patrol. We're over here in California. They're up and down the whole state, so you'll meet CHP whether you're in the south or the northern part of California. It's all connected through the state, and they have the signs. I don't know if they have them up in Northern Cali, but I know they have them down here in SoCal. Um, and anyways, they say that, and the whole point of it is to deter you from that action. See, if you don't know that you're doing something wrong, then you'll continue to do it. You'll continually do a negative behavior. They need to reinforce you by making it where you understand what you're doing so you can say, okay, I'm actively making this choice. So if you go over 100, now it's set, like you have that sign now. Okay, I am now willing to lose my license. I mean, not to say you can't get it back, I guess, because you could go to court or there's other ways of getting it back. But the main point I think is that they're just trying to have safety on the roads because there's a lot of car accidents. I do see a lot of those. I commute every day, and those are pretty gnarly. Like you're like, damn. I remember one day I saw two burnt cars in one the same day, like going at two different places or on the same path at two different spots on the road, and it's just like this is nuts, man. Like why are cars getting like this? But it's like maybe because they're all going super fast, and these new cars can go really quick and they're really smooth. I have a hybrid, a Grand Highlander. It's a Toyota. It's a phenomenal car. I got it in 25. Been driving it. Man, it's a nice smooth ride. It's fast. And I can only imagine, I've heard like with Teslas and everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people have those. Those seem to go pretty fast too. They're really quick, but the thing that's like one of the main concerns is like they can blow up on you because of those batteries. And you know, the cars that I saw weren't Teslas. I'm not trying to give you that impression. They were different cars, but my point is just that back to the signs and the freeways, it it gives people pause to say, "Oh, do I want to make this negative action? This is my consequence." Whereas when you come on here on social media, when you go online, you see people posting nonsense or about whatever they want, and sometimes it really hits, and sometimes you're like, "Man, you really missed the mark." And other times you're just like, you're just a troll, and you're like, why are you saying all this? And then you're like, oh, because they don't have someone next to them who might punch them in their fucking face for being a douche. Like, that's what it is. People are just douches. Like, being a douchebag online has been like normalized, especially after this last president. He loves doing that. He thrives from those people. that's that's one of the reasons why I really wasn't like sure if I wanted to be posting myself online. I've always been hesitant to be on here, but as I've been playing video games and being more involved in the video game community, which I I prefer that discourse where people yelling about video games over the political games, because people take it so personal, like to the level of like they want to hurt other people, and it's like we shouldn't be like that. One, the people who are actually making the decisions want that. They want you to hate me or hate you. That helps them because it divides us, and then we put each other on each other's sides. And then two, it just it's not even a good look. Like if you're trying to have like a significant other, I guarantee you, if you tell them, "Oh, all I did was troll a day and talk shit and made them feel bad," like they'd be like, "Why?" Like some people might be like, "Why would you do that? Like, what's the point?" Unless if both of you are like that, you're just toxic, some toxicos, and then you know what? I don't even know. Your life is a whole different life than I have, because I don't believe in all that. Maybe at one point I was really negative and I had that thought of just being negative towards everyone, but that was like when I was young and not mature enough to understand how the world works and how I work, how I operate. Because as you get older and you realize what you want in life, you'll operate differently. You'll start thinking and doing things in a way that you're like, you know what, I'll continue this because this is what I think is best for me and my family, my people. And that's easy for some of us to think about when we have it in front of us. Sometimes we're working all day and we don't think about it, and then we come home and we just want to be on our phones, doom scrolling or whatnot, and then you see a post that really gets you fired up. Then you want to go in on it, and then you start seeing the comments, and then the comments fire you up, and it just I can see where it leads. But you have, like I said, if you don't have the repercussions, you don't have that moment for pause, having a moment to like really digest of what you're seeing and saying, okay, do I want to continue just being fired up about this, and then saying something I might regret that I don't even really believe that I should be saying towards someone, or should I like cool it and say, you know what, maybe I'll skip this and not even post because it's not even worth both of our times, because it's just gonna get them upset because it's not what they're posting about, and what you're wanting to reply to is conflicting. And do you want to interact in that way? Is it going to be beneficial towards you? And you can't always guarantee that, but at least you can guarantee what you say is what you actually mean to say. You're not just saying it to be a jerk, like essentially. Like if you're doing it because you think it's actually genuinely trying to help better the conversation, is actually genuinely trying to be a positive towards this interaction, then do that. But if it's just like, I just want to talk, I want to talk trash to this person, like, bro, just go play a video game. Do it on that. Go play some Call of Duty. There's lots of trash talk on there. So much trash talk on Call of Duty. Or I guess you could do Fortnite, but not many people. I don't really use Fortnite. I don't really talk on Fortnite. Uh, but I mean, also Fortnite to me is different. I have a group of people I play with. I don't really tend to play in like open lobbies often. But yeah, all this is kind of lead me just to like be positive and try to make everyone have an understanding of where I'm at before we get into this discourse and be in the discussions, because I do want people to be on my chats and my discussions when they see these. And if you are, just have some decorum, have some respect. You know, try to feel like you can be open. You say whatever you want, but know that well, one of me or someone in my comments will more than likely drop a line on you and say, "Hey, you know what? Check yourself." Because, like I said, if you were here up at if we were here together, like person to person, like I've met so many people in my life. Like I'm not scared of anybody. I back in the days I was super timid and I was a big person. I've never been like a little person. So if you're like a short person, and by little I mean both like big, like weight wise and height wise. I've just been a big dude, and I've never been like one to like carry my weight and push it on people. Even I could, and I've seen people do that, and that's whatever. That's maybe how they had to live. And but I've never been afraid of meeting new people, no matter how they looked or what they looked like. Everyone to me is equal, but I'm different because I can say that with confidence because I've never been fearful. Some people get fearful when they meet others because they just don't know what they're willing or capable of doing. So just that, all that to be considered when you are meeting someone on real life. But when you're online, you only see what, like right now you see me, but you don't see the 10 other people around me, and you don't think about it. So like, let me talk mess to this person. And it's easy to think about when you're just here and there's no one really giving you any pushback. It's harder to like really restrain yourself when you're just like getting that message or that comment or whatever it is, and they just really want to push your buttons. They want to push you to the point where you do break, and that's fine. But you gotta realize what's important to you. Do you wanna just let it off the handle and then see where things happen, or do you want to actually you know be restrained and have some self-respect? Because that also is, at the end of the day, was what it is too. By being disrespectful to others, especially people you don't know, is just showing that you have no respect for yourself. And that's sometimes what I take it as when someone's really disrespectful in the comments or towards me when I'm mentioning stuff. I just take it as like, oh, they must have not had a good mom or dad to teach them the rights and wrongs. Because realistically, that's mostly what I think people have, where they stem their issues from. Because where you got brought up, like the interactions your parents had with other people, like you see that and you're like, oh, this is normal. Like they normalize this behavior. um, I try not to be that way for my kids, but I'm a human. I have mistakes. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't do those things in real life. I get mad on in traffic, yelling at people. And everyone, I don't know, everyone, most people do it. They get mad in traffic and they're like, "F you" or "Get the heck out the way" or whatever. And you gotta like remember what when you're talking, especially when I'm with my kids. I gotta remember not to be like that. When I'm by myself and I'm going to work, I'll say whatever I want. But then when I have them, I have to be restrained. So you might hear me even on the stream go back and forth while I'll start cussing and saying things like how I normally would, because that's just how I talk. I have like unfiltered mouth sometimes, but then other times I'm like, wait a second, I should actually kind of slow this down, think about what I'm saying, instead of dropping a hard f bomb. Maybe just put the f in there and just let it be that. Like it doesn't always have to be where I'm super angry or passionate, as I like to say, and giving, saying things that are just really not correctly the way I want them to be said. We'll say, yeah. And if you notice me looking up, I'm because I'm playing my Steam machine right now. Trying to multitask here, guys. I don't have much time, so when I do things, I wish I could say I just do them 100% without doing other things. It's impossible. I want to do two or more things at once, like this video, like recording. I want to record videos. I want to make videos, but do I have the time to do it? No. Do I want to do it? Yes. Like yesterday, I was saying I didn't do the live stream I wanted to do. I had it planned out. I wanted to like mention it, and then I had all these grand ideas for it, and then life be lifing, and my brother just It was just a whole thing. I can't even go into it. I don't even want to talk about it. It's upsetting. I, I don't like the fact that the way the world is sometimes, it'll hit you when you least expect it and when you're not prepared for it. And you just have to fucking take it on the chin and just move the fuck on. And that's what I'm doing. That's me in a nutshell. Actually, it's been me in a nutshell for a long time. Like earlier, if you're late in the stream right now and you've been with me, rocking with me this 50 minutes, I appreciate you first off. And if you wouldn't mind doing me a solid and commenting, and let me know what you did enjoy from this stream, and also a sub or a like or a follow, anything would help. I don't normally ask for this stuff, but I'm not even asking to do much. If you can do that and you actually enjoyed some of this, I appreciate it. But yeah, just life is making me, second guess things, and not sorry, not second guess things, but like it's like you have to go and move with the actions that have happened, like whether it's in your control or not. And I was saying is that I've been kind of doing this like for a long time now. So we earlier in the stream I had mentioned that I had worked at a body shop and the economy wasn't doing so good. That's when I was like taking a look at my history, and I realized that I've been through this before. I've been through some of these situations. Now I have experience through this, and I have a better understanding of where to go from it. And if I don't do the right move now, it's on me, because now it's my choice to to still continue down a bad path. And I'm being very broad with this because I can't share many details. This isn't. It's a little bit too personal, and if really want to break it down, not many of us are able to share a full 100% of us online. Like I watch a lot of streaming, not streaming, just I watch a lot of YouTube, we'll say, and there's a lot you only find out from people from piecing it together, but they don't ever like explicitly tell you their whole life story or their backstory. Sometimes it's just through different little moments. And for me, I think that's what I prefer. I don't want to just give everyone like my whole life story. I'd rather piece it together for you guys in a moment and by moment basis. And if you already know me and you're like watching the stream, like you could just disregard that because then you already know what's going on. But if you're new to me and you're new to this channel, it's easy to be like, well, what's this guy talking about? He's just very broad and really vague. Um, I promise you, it's coming from real things that are happening in the background, but I just can't share those things. Maybe at a later date, I can kind of go into details of what's going on after the dust settles. But for now, it's just know that times are hard, times are changing as they always are, and you know, we'll be fine though. We'll always get through it. The number one thing to remember about life, especially when you're in a non-third world country where you actually, if you can afford to live here in some capacity, even the people on the home in the homeless in our communities, people don't want to admit this, but they actually can afford to live here. Not that they can, but there's resources for them where they're not necessarily doing as bad as if they were in another country. Because you know, I go down to third world country Mexico, we'll say, and that place isn't bad, but for their homeless, I don't feel like it's as nice. You see some of the amenities that we provide for our people here, and I'm not mad at those people for having food or having some sort of something, because it's not like they have much anyways. Like you're getting mad at them for having a cart on the side of the road. I mean, yes, it's not ideal because especially when they're not acting right and they're giving you a hard time. But like, come on, like they don't really have much. Like, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to just you pretend that they're nobody, that they're no, like, who cares about them? Like, I always give a weird, like, I always have a weird mindset when people are just like mad about people not having stuff, and it's like I get it, like they're lazy. Maybe you see someone, they should be having a job, they should be working, and should be doing this and should be doing that. There's a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas, but they're not. They're here in front of you, and you see them homeless begging for money, and you're like, I'm mad at this person because I work my ass off, and how dare they ask me for money? I'm the one here doing all the work. And what are they doing? Nothing. Sitting here on the road with a sign. taking up my resources, right? Is that what we're thinking? But then it's like, but you're living in a house, you have a car, you get to go. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have family. Like maybe they don't have any of these things that help them. Maybe they have mental diseases. Maybe they come from back from a war that we sent them out because we love to spend money on war here more than we love spending money on people. Like, tell me how our military budget is superseding, you know, like all the budgets, and it's just about death. Like, if you think about it, how are we spending all the military budget? To me, is saying let's go spend money on death because we're in 2026. We can use diplomacy. We've learned that you don't have to go and use military might unless if like it's better for everyone. And even then it's not ever better for everyone. And the reason I say that is like when you hear about countries getting toppled and the people take over because the dictator was taking grains and whatever, you start thinking maybe that is better for the people because then maybe something new and better and different can come out of it. But either way, it's never good to be in war. It's never good to spend money on war. I mean, unless if you're in those industries, then you're like, hell yeah. Like if you ever watched that movie, what was it, War Dogs with Jonah Hill and Miles Teller? That was like a pretty insightful movie into like the Iraq War, and there's also Lord of War with Nicolas Cage, and it's fun to watch, and it's like interesting like how that all comes to be and how that like plays out. But you think about it, you're like that's actually pretty terrible. These people are like making really huge profits off of a lot of like death and despair. And like I said at the beginning of this video, also, I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror and look myself, at the pearly gates and just say, I didn't do the worst to my fellow people, anyone. Even if you've done me wrong, I've never like, at the end of the day, I've thought of negative thoughts about that person for that moment, and then afterwards, I'm like, no, that was wrong. I shouldn't have been like that. But it's all learning. It's all part of life. We're all learning here. We're all gonna be making mistakes, but I'm trying to see if maybe I can spread some positive change in the world instead of just it all being this negative you know shitstorm we're seeing. It's funny because when I think about like why I even wanted to post to begin with too, besides like being on a public speaker and like being more open, it's also just the fact that like I just think that leaving a positive mark is actually not a bad thing. I saw when Obama got elected for president, and like I was actually never like super into politics like at all, but he actually gave us hope. He really did. He made it feel like things can change. It had been hundreds of years, and you see someone like him who can actually get a chance to come in, and he had some great ideas, some bold ideas. Some obviously didn't land well, some did, but because of the powers that be, they didn't really care to to build off of it. I really hope they had done better with Obamacare, aka the Affordable Care Act. But I don't know if you've noticed this, but they've actually made it worse. But you'll find that out if you need healthcare. If you don't need healthcare, you won't care. You'll just be like, well, good, my insurance will be cheaper. That's all that you care about, right? If you don't care about healthcare and people. So, and maybe you don't think like that, but maybe subconsciously that's what you're thinking. Like you're not actively always saying, "Oh, well, hurt people," or "I don't care about this person," or anything like that. You're just thinking, about yourself and your situation. Like I know a lot of people who, like, they're a single person and they're like, "Why is my insurance got to be expensive because of the families?" And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be that way. One, it's kind of the insurance's problem, but two, it's like you shouldn't be upset because someone has some needs something that you don't like. I guess it's weird to me that people get so like upset at others for having that others don't have, and it's like, can't you just be happy for someone? Can't we just be happy for others having stuff? And I talk about the billionaires, like I don't want those people. It's weird because I think of them as people too, right? But they're not like normal people because they don't have that same mindset of let me um, you know, be for all of us because they're obviously now in the super like Lex Luthor era, let's say, where they're just trying to think that they're saving the planet in their way and that every other way is wrong. Well, maybe their way is, outdated. And I'm talking about like billionaires like Jeff Bezos or like Elon and whatnot. Obviously, you're just gonna be billionaires you don't even hear of. Like, there's so many out there that we don't even think of because there's actually quite a few now in the world, and it's one of those things. You're like, it's just like, is it gonna go on forever that we're just gonna humankinds are just gonna be terrible to others and like not care? Because at some point we we've got the technology now. We've got the you literally, like I just told you, I can go back in history in my own, like, on my computer and just like look at my how I acted and was and thought very simply and easily, not even thinking about it. Like, I try to put myself 100 years from today, 1920s, 1910s, like when I was younger, because I always was like into history. And I don't know about you, I grew up watching the History Channel. And man, I used to love watching all about history, and it was like fascinating to me that like the things that you would see then, it's like it happens again because people don't really think about it anymore. It's like it came, it went, oh, that can't happen again, and then like it's happening again in a different form. And then people are like naive to that fact. They're like, no, 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 it's different now. We're in 2026. It can't be like 1926. And that's not true because things can be forgotten. But my point is like when you think about being 100 back in 100 years ago, to write down a thought or memory, you would have to physically write it first. But then, two, you'd have to keep that physical paper on you. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes things get lost in the shuffle and things can, be missing. And maybe I, don't know because I wasn't in that era, but maybe being in, you know, that mindset of like, let me try to actually like write down my thoughts and reflect on it. Like, why would you do that back then? You're probably working a really long hours. You're working a lot, and you didn't like think, let me get home and just reflect on myself, and then let me think about it in a year. And like, you're not, we're not able to have as much thought as what I think I'm trying to say right now. Before it was just do, work, work, work. And we can still do that. But also now we have the ability to reflect and think about what the work we're doing a lot more easily. There's a lot more tools. And what I'm saying is we can do that as like a collective, as all of us in society. But like it doesn't seem like that's happening. It just seems like we're just brute forcing everything. Like they're trying to make AI a thing, and it's like, what is the real like benefit to most of us? Like, I don't even use it like most people. I don't know, like I see a lot of things like when I'm on YouTube, maybe it's because of I'm into tech. I'm seeing a lot of people like make things happen with Cowork and Claude, and all these, I hear all these things of what you can do with it, and I'm just like, I don't know if that's for me. I don't know if that's something I need to do or want to do. Maybe it's not even that I need to do, it's just that I want to do. Like, I, the idea from it is what I want. Like, it'll be like, oh, create an automated system. And why am I doing this automated system? Because I'm trying to, grow on social media or make a business and grow my business. And it's like, but what's the end result you're trying to get from all that? You're trying to earn revenue. Well, why don't we just have jobs that actually can earn revenue for us? Well, one, because we're in this really productive society where we don't need to have like farmers and stuff like the way we used to. Like, and we don't need to have factory workers. And there's things like that maybe it made sense 100 years ago to do, but now it doesn't make sense. So we shouldn't be looking at the 100-year mark of what work is like, and we should be looking at what work can be. I hear online a lot of people want to have a 4-day work week, a 32-hour work week. I agree that should be a standard. you know like healthcare should be a standard. We should have standards. We don't have standards in this country. We have very low standards. And in fact, you start hearing about Europe now. Europe and some of their countries, they have some standards that you're like, why can't we hold ourselves to those standards? We used to be the global standard in America. If you think that now, you're a fool. We China is more of a global standard, and they shouldn't be leading the way. We should be leading the way. But the only way we can do that is by being the leader, not by tearing down half our country because they look different or they didn't grow up here the way that we grew up. That's not right. We need to uplift everyone. And so I don't know. I keep going down these paths back to where I always lead, which is being fair and equal to everyone. Do that, and you'll be a better person overall. Yeah, like I don't even care if you don't subscribe to what I'm saying. Just be a good person to other people, the people you do care about, and you'll be fine. Just don't be. The only thing I'm saying is also don't turn around though and put hate on others just because they're different than you. Maybe have an understanding that that difference is actually what strengthens your bond together, because with that difference gives them a different perspective to share with you, a different mindset, a different thought process. Maybe even something as simple as like when you're working with a coworker, they piss you the fuck off because they're not doing their job right. Well, maybe they have something going on in their personal life that's actually really affecting their job. Maybe if you take a moment to like really sit and think and like maybe talk with them, maybe there's something you can do to work something out with them where, you know what, the thing that's making you upset with them actually is only because you're upset with yourself for not talking with them and kind of hashing out this problem. You're just letting it fester and keep building. And I keep thinking about these things because the more I really what I want, really what I would like is for everyone to be in agreement so we can move this bitch forward. We can move this country forward because this country ain't going to move forward without more of us similarly minded moving it. You know, I'm older enough. I'm older enough. I'm old enough to know that with one person you can't do anything. You know, I if you think that one person's going to do it all, that's not true. We need all of us. Like they say, it takes a village. It really does. You know, I wouldn't be able to have my kids if I didn't have my family. I mean, I could have them. Not to say you can't, but it's a lot more manageable. It's a lot more easier when you have family, when you have, you know, people in your lives that are able to help with it, and they want to be there. They want to help you with it, and you got to be able to accept that there's going to be people who want to be there and help you, and being able to show up for them as well, and not in the ways that you want all the time. It's not going to always work out the way you want it to, but the fact that you're able to, you know, be present and, you know, think about these things. Like if you're like me and you're able to do all these things and still enjoy your hobbies and still be, you know, not, I don't know if I'm considered a success. It depends on who you talk to. But like maintain a job, have a level of like, you know, a level of where you think you're not just a floating bag in this, you know, this weird world that we live in that is not really doing much, to be honest. Because most of us, you know, if you're just waking up every day and you're getting on your grind and you're not doing anything else, you know, that's fine. But if you're just at home and you're not working and not doing anything, it's like, what are you even doing? Like, why even, I don't know. Like, get yourself in a mindset where, like, what am I going to do today? Am I going to do something different or am I going to continue to do the same thing? Am I going to continue to improve or am I just going to continue to make things the same they have always been? You know, I've been grappling with this a lot in my career because I honestly don't enjoy it like I would hope I would have. I mean, I don't think anyone really enjoys their career. They just kind of, I mean, I call mine a career, but it's just a job. You know, it's hard to say how much I enjoy my job because some days I do enjoy it. I enjoy part aspects of it, but other days I don't enjoy it because I don't enjoy certain aspects of it again. And so it's just like what what moves me, what motivates me to keep going. And I'm just always like in that pursuit. And you're seeing this in real time. Like I'm being really truthful right now. I'm not telling you I have all the answers. I don't even know if this is even right. If I'm posting this right now today, is this right to do? Should I stop posting online? Is this a waste of my time? You know, I seen with social media that there's a lot of pushback on, you know, the on Meta. I saw a lawsuit that's, you know, $1 trillion lawsuit, which actually good. They should get in trouble for not, you know, not that they should get in trouble. I think, like I said, from the warning signs, they should just have warning signs. Hey, do this thing, and this thing is going to happen this way. You don't just get to you don't get to spill milk and then just walk away. You got to pick up the milk. I get, you know, it's spilt milk. There's a saying, right? But then at some point, some adult's got to come in the room and and get the towel and clean up the milk. You don't just leave it on the floor. And if you're one of those people who just leaves it on the floor, that's those people who like Meta and the billionaire trillionaires. They're just doing that right now. We need to be the ones, the grown-ups in the room, the society, all of us collectively. They are included in this, but they have more money, and money right now is, taking over politics more so. But if we come together, I feel like in these elections, hopefully these will change the course of where we're at. You and only reason I can even kind of be hopeful of all this is because back in the 40s, like 20 years from now, maybe this will happen. Maybe I'm foreshadowing. That'd be nice. But back in the early, 40s, FDR in the whole New Deal gave us a lot of really great programs. People wouldn't even accept these programs. These would be considered communist socialism programs in today's standards. But Medicare, I could tell you, your grandparents, if you're my age or younger, or basically not my age or younger, if you're my age and you're not in your 60s or around my age, you have a parent or grandparent who might be with Medicare. And for some of them, Medicare means a lot because they can't afford healthcare, and they're taking away a lot of that benefit because it's considered socialism and communism. Which, yes, it can be bad if it's concentrated in the power of few, but it can be good if we all agree that this is a system we think is worth fighting for. And I think FDR understood that, and the people of that era understood that. They're like, no, this is something that will benefit all of our society. Like, it'll help take care of our grandparents, so that way, when people are older, they're not just stuck, living on the streets now because they can't work anymore. And but it all goes back to, like, we got to define these different parameters for what work is, for what we decide we want, elderly people to do when they get to retirement age, because the retirement age just keeps going up, partially because the age of when people are retiring has gone up, but then partially because we can't afford the system, because instead of reassessing as time has gone on since this new deal and since the start of it, we've just been slowly stripping it away. And we're at a point where now we're like, oh, we don't want any of this. We want socialism not gone. Well, then we're gonna have unfeathered capitalism, and that's not good either. Because if you don't like communism, I don't know if unfeathered capitalism is the answer either. Because once that goes to monopolistic practices, which I don't know if you've been hearing me talk this whole time. It's been sprinkling out throughout. It's not good. You're not gonna get, like, I was just talking about my ISP. I'm gonna have worse service, and they're gonna charge me more money once this merger happens. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's like right now with T-Mobile. I used to have T-Mobile. I'm on AT&T. It's no better. I used uh, back and forth. We go back and forth. T-Mobile merged with Sprint. They said they were gonna keep the prices. They only can keep the prices for so long before they had to change. It's inevitable that they're gonna have more power and the concentration of more companies, unless if we say you're not allowed to merge because this is going to hurt us. But we like to have the convenience when they say, well, if we let us merge, we're going to give you this, and then you won't think about it. And then you think, okay, I'll let it happen this time. And then years later, you're like, man, that was a mistake. It was not worth what they said they were going to do. Um, I'm thinking about like Netflix being on YouTube, T-Mobile as like a paid app. I don't know if it still is, because I know I had Netflix with my T-Mobile account before. I pay for Netflix now separate, but Netflix with T-Mobile was like, I was like, that's pretty great. I'm like, that's cool, like that they're doing that. But then like years later, you're like, that's not even worth it. They shouldn't even. But it's all hindsight. You see now, like where things have led. You would have hoped by now that we would have figured this out and had something kind of planned out better for these companies. Like, but we'll see. Everything's a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. This video's gone on way too long. This stream, I mean, this video, this stream, and I appreciate anyone who's noticed it, watched it. If you haven't, and you come across it like afterwards, and it's already been live, let me know in the comments down below if you picked it up at all. Um, yeah, and I know this has kind of been all over the place. It's not been really structured. I'm not a professional streamer, and you guys probably who are professional streamers are probably laughing at me. That's cool. I laugh at myself too. I'm trying to do this thing. More and more so, just like I said, at the point of where I'm just making things because I want to. I want to share my thoughts and my ideas. I think when I get really into myself and really think about what I want with posting, that's what I want. I just want to share my thoughts and ideas because I think that everyone has some good ideas, some good thoughts, but it's not easy for us to share them. It's not easy for us to be on social media or online and be vulnerable, put ourselves out here. You're seeing this is my real background. Like this is where I live. I don't fake the funk. I'm a real Raider fan. I'm really from San Diego. I've been here my whole life. I'm gonna die in this bitch. I'm gonna live here forever, or at least until I die. I'm not leaving. All you people who left San Diego, I just say sayonara. Have a good life. Have a good life. God bless. I'm sure it's fine where you live. Everywhere is not every place is the place that they're meant to be at. People, like I said, you can move and it'll be fine. But yeah, it's been going on too long. This stream, I've been blabbering about, not really having one set topic. Maybe I'll be more focused next time. Uh, Also, I'm thinking about planning on maybe doing giveaways. Uh, I would like some feedback on that because I was trying to do a fair giveaway. I don't want to just give it away to the first person who pops in. It might be a bot, um, or some weird like spam account, something like that. So if anyone has some ideas of how I can do maybe a raffle, possibly I could just like get your email and I could just do like a email raffle that different people. I have some free games like some Steam keys I would like to give away. I have some posters of stuff. Just things, little things here and there. I think that are fun little giveaways that, if you mess with me like that and you like to see me talking in these streams, I feel like it's a win-win. You get a chance to win something, talk with me a little bit, here for an hour. Everyone gets to leave a little bit happier, and that'll be a win for me. So, on that note, I hope you all have a blessed day. Take care and stay safe. Peace.